Welcome to EQTV, and today I'm going to give you my top 10 tips how to stop drinking, whether it be for one day, 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year, or a lifetime. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and today I'm going to give you my top 10 tips how to let go of alcohol, whether it be for a day, a week, a month, or a year. So I've gone for long periods of time without drinking, a couple of years at a time. So I think I know quite a bit about it. So number one, if you're at that point where you're drinking in the morning, you need professional medical help. So do not go cold turkey and try this without going and getting that professional help. But the first thing that I want to let you know, number one, don't say you're an addict. If you stand up there in an AA situation and you say, I'm an addict, I'm an addict, I'm an addict, you keep affirming I'm an addict, instead of understanding that we have several identities. And there's a reason why we reach for relief. We're trying to relieve ourselves of something going on within us, okay? And so self-soothing always has a cause. So today we're going to be talking about that. So number one is to change your language of I'm an addict to I have an addictive identity. And by doing that, we appreciate, just like you have an identity for work, you have a parent identity, you might have a narcissistic identity, you might have this, you might have that. But it is just not all encompassing. It does not define you. It doesn't have to define you. And we have to understand, number two is you have to look at the cause, not the symptom. Just like if you want to give up smoking or any other addiction that you have, if you try and give up smoking without looking at the cause of smoking, you'll always go back, right? Or it'll always be a constant crave, a constant challenge. So that's very important. So next, it's really important that you get support. You go to a coach and you start the healing process. Start the healing process of why you're reaching for relief. There is always a reason. There is always a cause. And so really important that you understand that. I have never been to AA, NAGA, or any other A. I've just always worked on the cause. Now, the cause for me, I came from a lot of violence, a lot of trauma. And so that's what happens is to understand that gets locked in the nervous system. Okay, so we've got to heal the nervous system, and it's why people reach for relief. Addiction is all about either trying to soothe something, avoid a feeling, and it's generally an unconscious automatic pilot process. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it, right? We wouldn't sit there and say, I really want to harm myself, so I'll go and have a cigarette. I really want to be toxic, so I'll just drink to get drunk, right? It's not a rational thing that people do. It's an irrational thing. It's an unconscious reaction. Number three is to make sure you have a decent why. Now, I have coached people who want to let go of alcohol, cocaine, pornography, you name it. And it all comes down to the one thing. If you are doing it for somebody else, it's not a good reason. If it is for your children and you want to use their relationship or to be a decent parent or whatever, if you need that to get you to the first step, that's okay. But ultimately, we have to do it for ourselves. This is the first start of the healing process. It's the first action of self-care. You can't go from toxic to self-love. You have to go through a process of elimination. You have to heal those lost parts, those unclaimed parts that have some trauma and past hurts attached, where you are trying to soothe this feeling, right? So we've got to unlock it. We've got to unpack it. We've got to become consciously aware of it. Number 4 is to decide on a time frame. A lot of people really suffer badly by thinking, I'm going to stop right now. Right? I'm going to stop. And that could be okay. You know, all this old belief stuff about it's a disease. It's an emotional disorder. Okay. There's so much science and psychological stuff behind it. If somebody was emotionally healthy, they wouldn't need to soothe themselves, right? So all as I've always done in the past is just done the work, done the work, done the work, done the work. And all my addictions, especially my really bad ones about gambling all the time, you know, that was like, I think 202, 203, about that sort of last period of my life of gambling. I used to gamble all the time. All I did was did the work, did the work, did the work. And it just fell away. I can walk into a casino, I have no desire to gamble, you know. So it's really, really valuable to understand all we've got to do is become emotionally healthy, and these things fall away. There's so much science and research even to show that it's not genetic. Because why is it somebody can grow up in an alcoholic family and not be an alcoholic? You know, whereas the other sibling will go and be use alcohol to soothe, and they say, oh, you're just like your father, or, you know, nah. Okay, so decide on a period of time. You might say, I'm going to go 30 days without a drink. It's a lot more copable than saying I'm going to give up forever, right? And in that 30 days, you go and get coaching of somebody who understands what it's like, somebody who's been there, done that. If you go to a psychotherapist that's never had any addiction, maybe they don't have that level of empathy that you would like. So go see someone who's got a story, okay? So decide on a period of time, and that way it seems a lot more copable. Does that make sense? So number 5 is to understand the nervous system. You know, we've got more neurons in our gut and our heart than we have in our brain. And so in our nervous system is where all the trauma and beliefs and past hurts are locked. And if you've got a short fuse where you have to reach for relief, then you'll know that that sort of bandwidth has been traumatized, versus somebody else that can be pushed to this limit. They've got a lot more resilience before they get triggered and have to have a drink to soothe themselves. And there's all sorts of self-talk and convincing about, oh, it's the end of the week, so the nervous system can relax, so you go and get wasted, right? And when the truth is, it's because you've been in a state of heightened energy all week trying to cope, and then you've got that, you know that you've got that time off. So a lot of people use alcohol on a Friday to soothe themselves, when the truth is it's a psychological situation where it's about a letting go. It's about a behavior that you're trying to convince yourself that you need a reward. It's the end of the week. But all as you're doing is a lack of consciousness. How else can I let go? How else can I soothe myself? So it's really getting to understand the body. And when we understand that all our situation is in the body, getting to know the body better. So doing, you know, body scan meditations and things like that, which I'll put a link for a body scan and a couple of recommendations there. And once we start operating in the body and getting into the body and really understanding ourselves, then our bandwidth, once we relax our nervous system and learn how to do that through other choices, other activities opposed to alcohol, then we start feeling safer in our skin. And that's really, really invaluable. So it's learning how to soothe the body without alcohol. Okay, number 6 is to take responsibility. Now that might sound quite strict, but it's really about learning how to be responsible, you know, having the ability to respond to life. And I remember when about 10 years ago, I went through a couple of years of letting go of alcohol, and it was just so amazing. A lot of my friends thought I was a born-again Christian, but anyway, what I noticed in social situations around other people that were drinking, I felt quite nervous. And I realized that I had a sort of a social anxiety going on because I'd used alcohol all my life to calm down, to feel relaxed, to fit in, to feel like I belonged, right? And I used to be able to drink pretty much anyone under the table back then, I can assure you. So it's about rebuilding this nervous system to really feel safe in your skin and more relaxed, and to appreciate that most people have social anxiety when they're not drinking, or to understand, if you didn't grow up in a safe container, then you're going to have, a nervous system that can't cope. It's going to have a small bandwidth. And so this is where creating a daily practice to sort of learn how to reclaim your essence, those lost parts of you. This is why working with a coach is so valuable. Learning things like EFT. I'll put a link to that as well, to my website, all about that. Learning a daily practice, breathing exercise like Wim Hof breathing and things like that are just a phenomenal stuff if you haven't heard of that. There's also an amazing course that I did a few years ago to really increase my emotional fitness, and that was The Path of Love, run by psychotherapists. It's all over the world. I highly, highly, highly recommend that. Number 7 is to actually learn a response. So when people say, oh, you want a drink, mate, instead of feeling inadequate or out of sorts or uncomfortable, to have a response to support yourself. And that might look like something like, look, I'm on a health kick, mate, or I'm challenging myself at the moment to not drink. I really love it if you could support that. Or I want to see if I can actually let go of drinking. Now, if you're with somebody that tries to convince you to have a drink, you're really appreciating that person wants you to join them so they don't feel so bad. And you've got to ask yourself at this question, do you need to separate yourself from friends that have behavior that doesn't support your journey? Now, a lot of people go out of their way and say, oh, those people are toxic and I need to hang out with more like-minded people. But that's a judgment, right? And everybody is suffering on some level about something, and we just act it out differently. I know people that have a lot of judgment on people that drink, take drugs, or have a porn addiction. They might be ladies, right? And yet they sit at home and eat and might be 30 kgs overweight. And I say to them, well, there's no difference between you, me, and the man down the road. We all act out our addictive identity in a different way. So it's really understanding, okay, I need to have some discipline here, but I need to be able to respond to the world. I can't lock myself up 24/7. So what will I say if somebody tries to convince me to have a drink? Or do I need to just take some time out from those friendships until I feel strong enough that I can interact and have a response? You could say something like, I'm working on a big project at the moment. It's called me. I want to be my best self. I want to live my full potential. And alcohol has been interrupting with that all my life. So this is what I'm going to try and do, mate. And leave it at that. Number 8. Is to really start working on the inner confidence and to be able to build some trust, because if we don't trust ourselves, it means we've got more triggers there to work on, right? Just keep doing the work. I can't emphasize that enough. And it's really about understanding that trust is the essence of courage. to really go there and learn how to trust ourselves. If we can't trust ourselves, then we'll always attract people we can't trust. We'll always put ourselves in vulnerable situations and in dangerous situations. So I know a hell of a lot about that in my past, I can assure you. So really learning how to build that resilience, build that trust in yourself. And yeah, once again, looking at a great practitioner, great psychotherapist, an EFT practitioner. I'm an advanced EFT practitioner in that. Somebody's even into quantum healing. I mean, that is just going around the globe at the moment, everything to do with neuroscience, you know. So you really want to investigate and start trying different avenues. Not the first thing might not work for you. Try something else until you find a connection with someone that you feel really comfortable with. It's really important. I remember years and years ago in my 30s, I went to a counselor once and I just thought, this is bullshit. You know, this person has no idea what my life has been like. And then, and it was someone who'd gone to university and had a textbook mentality, had no life experience in trauma, right? So really, really valuable that you, once again, connect with someone who's got a story. And you'll probably find most people in this field that specialize in addiction like me actually have a lot of worldly experience. Number 9 is be gentle with yourself. That's probably one of the really important things. I notice that a lot of people, including myself in the past, transfer addiction. You know, so when you're giving up something like, I don't know if you ever saw that movie, Sandra Bullock, 28 Days. Rewatch that, really old, good movie. But a lot of people crave sugar when they give up alcohol because there's a lot of sugar in alcohol, right? And so just be mindful if you're going to get a bag of lollies. I still love my love sugar occasionally, but if you do get some lollies, understand you're transferring, or your body, your nervous system is craving sugar. So consider how can you look at a sugar replacement, or just understand, say to your therapist or your coach at the time, you know, I notice I'm transferring my addiction to sugar. And so, because it's really important, don't focus on the sugar or the addiction as much. Focus on the healing, right? The healing is the important part. As far as healing, I do have an online course that's all about healing past hurts and trauma that's causing anxiety and addiction. I'll also put a link to that below. And I've had huge feedback from people because I've designed it with all sorts of videos and exercises and practices that are not only proven by me and neuroscience, however, they're also proven by, loads and loads of people who have gone through it and succeeded. So lastly, my top 10 tip here is, you know, we've got to learn new skills, but know this, recognize this, you're not alone. And if somebody else can get through it, if somebody else can stop self-harm, if somebody else can heal their trauma, and somebody else can have a daily practice and put new skills in place, because that's all they are, is skills, right? Emotional fitness is a skill. It's a daily practice of a multitude of skills. And so if you can go and get the healing, heal the nervous system, get new skills, and if somebody else can do it, you can do it. There is no difference between you and I and the man down the road. Remember, it's just through our belief system, how we've been programmed and how we've been harmed and traumatized in the past. So I hope that's helpful for you. please subscribe, and so together we can keep growing and you can get the best information and steps that you can. Thanks for listening.